Hey, genius. I don't know what to say on a call. Do I tell them all my value on the first call? How do I get them to show up for a meeting? Well, we're going to dive into some of that today. This is a commonly asked question, whether you're even a loan officer or any other entrepreneur. Like, hey, I'm going to call somebody. I'm going to make that first connection. Maybe I've connected with them before. Man, I want them to show up for this meeting. All these things that you want to accomplish. And do I share value? Do I tell them what I can do? Well, the answer to that is people are like, oh man, whatever, you got to share your value, or they got to show up and all this. So we are going to smack that down. We're going to talk about why that is not correct. So stop telling people your value on the first call, and you will win a lot more deals, a lot more relationships, and have a happier, more glorious time doing it. So if you want to schedule a call with us to increase your sales, have influence like you've never had before, have a just the 1% mentality runs your business like a loan executive officer, which is going from a loan officer to a CEO of your business. We like to call it an LEO, to grow your business, a real business that you can print money, that you can live the life you want to, that you can show up in such a different way in the marketplace than ever. We are fanatical about influence mastery. We're fanatical about running like a real true business and not just a loan officer. You're trapped at being just a loan officer. We're trying to just unlock your genius to help you grow. Go to geniusloanofficer.com and we will have a good conversation and see if you're a right fit for us and we're a right fit for you. So, all right, enough about that. Let's get into helping you today. So we want to backtrack into before this call happens, into what's going on in the framing of your mind, because this is all important. This is all going to set you up for success on your calls. So the difference, what's the difference, and what is performance versus connection? Performance versus connection. Now, you're showing up the call, you're going to make your calls, you're going to do your event, and you're getting this pit, this, your stomach. Oh my gosh, I don't want to, I got to do these calls, and this is just what I'm going to say. All this stuff is going on. Performance mode is pressure. Performance mode is observing yourself in a conversation. Performance mode is it feels like an evaluation. Performance mode is focus on self. So I could show up today on this call and on this beautiful Genius Loan Officer podcast here that everybody is just on and trying to grow, and I love you for it. And I could show up and say, hey, I gotta have this great performance. I gotta perform. I've got to do all this, and just get so just anxious about it that I am completely focused on myself, and I'm completely focused on, this performance that I'm about to put on, and put all this pressure on myself. While there is a level of, hey, listen, I got to show up and I got to be prepared and I got to have, good dialogue and back and forth. It can't be complete performance mode, because if I show up and that's where I'm acting and I got to perform, I'm like a stage, I don't know, one of those stage illusionist or whatever, I got to perform this act and all that stuff. We're not here to perform these crazy acts. Okay. So we got to know that when we're making a call, performance should not be what we're about. Performance is not what it's about. Now, we have a level of, we are human, right? So our brain is going to understand, like, okay, we're going to make these, and we can't just be like sitting around in a recliner back, just, watching soap operas at the same time trying to make calls. So we're going to have to be on our game, and we have to worry about, we have to make sure our physiology is there. So we are good. Physiology means a big part of how you're going to show up. You know, if you have to get KT tape to kind of pin your shoulders back a little bit and be more confident and all that, the physiology, and smile before you hand, go, hey, I get to make those calls. I get to do this, and actually do an action like that, like I do with my fist to my hand sometimes. Yes, this is physiology. This is helping you. There is a certain amount of performance that goes into the fact that, like, okay, I got to show up right, but it should not feel like performance. It should feel like I am there to show up and have a great time, and the focus is on them. So connection mode is where it feels like a real connection. You're relaxed and you're comfortable. You're caring about, you're curious about the other person, right? And you're comfortable sharing your own depth of emotion. That is connection. So performance first connection, if you just heard that, and maybe you write these down and think about it in your business, when you're doing your actions, when you're going to take an action, am I in performance mode or am I in connection mode? Which one are those? Which one am I in? And which is going to be better serving the person I'm speaking to? This is not about serving ourselves. This is not about getting that next deal. It's about connection mode. And guess what? When you connect, when you have great dialogue and the focus is on them, you're showing up correctly. Naturally, more people are going to connect with you. You're going to be able to move the 6 keys of influence. A lot of stuff we speak and talk about. We talk way deeper than I'm going to go on here in Genius Loan Officer and Influence Mastery. However, you can take a lot of keys away from here and start performing now really well, because you're connecting really well. So your performance as far as your numbers is going to be really good because you're connecting really well. So now if you feel yourself getting into that performance mode and you're feeling anxious and all that stuff, so when it comes to athletes, and think about your maybe athletic endeavor that you were doing before, maybe you're doing one now, and you were anxious at one point, and then some point along your career and your athletics, you all of a sudden framed it as, man, I'm excited. So the really good superior athletes, right, when you ask them, they're going in to do a fight, right? Like they have a lot of energy there. There's a lot of energy, a lot of focus, but they frame it as what? I'm excited. I get to go out here and do this. I'm gonna knock this guy out. I'm gonna knock this woman out. I'm gonna dunk all over everybody, whatever, because they're framing it, to reframe it as good energy, as positive energy. It's, if we feel ourselves having those the emotions, then we have to reframe it, and we have to physiologically have that change in our body, in our actions. When we start going in performance mode and it starts going down the path of I'm anxious, or man, all this stuff is going on, notice your physiology, meaning that all of a sudden your shoulders are slumping more down, your breathing pattern becomes different. All these little things like that is going to trigger how confident you are. One thing that I noticed, it was really, when I start studying myself and body language and physiology, how it works together and how I act confidently. One thing that I noticed I would do, because I was like scanning myself, like just scanning, and my left foot would not be off the floor, but the pressure on my left foot was less. Really interesting. Now, you may have something else, right? Why was it? So if I'm somewhere and all of a sudden I'm kind of feeling like a little uneasy or something's going on or whatever, my foot would be less, weight would be on my left foot. So why does that matter? Well, it matters to me because If I am feeling uncomfortable or I am feeling like the little tension or whatever, then I have to trigger myself to say, put your weight back evenly distributed. What does that do? Well, I'll tell you, I've done it, and it actually helps the rest of my whole feelings about that situation, my confidence level. Plant back in, you're good at them, everything's good. That's what you need to perform. So we all have these things, these little bitty things that are going to be off physiologically. We need to kind of scan our body and be confident about what is going on. It starts physiology. Your physiology controls a lot of that. So to break a lot of those patterns, you have to have this pattern interrupt in your own physiology. You can do something to just stamp that, right, and break that, and really just hammer that point home. So it gets you in a different mode. These are not just foo-foo stuff that doesn't matter. Or, oh man, that's just whatever. I don't need all that. Listen, we all have to work on these things, these triggers that are going on, that we do. If you don't think you have any of those, you may be worse off than what you think. Like, this is what called, we talk about competence level, right? And you're incompetent and you just don't know it. You've got unconscious incompetence, meaning that you don't know what you don't know. And you don't know how that's adding up. Unconscious competence is mastery, is skill set, by the way, total opposite end of the spectrum. So we have to know what is physiology, our physiology is doing and how that's showing up. And so if we have that energy, let's place it as excitement. Let's place it as something that is going to help us. And let's have the correct energy going forward. This is very important before the calls. You can sit there and have all the scripts in the world. You can have the best scripts in the world. We give scripts and we give things that when it's not just scripted like robotic, it's, it is the baselines of what you do, and situational awareness has to show up. All those things we teach, and you got to continue teaching. Skill sets you got to have. Like, those are skill sets you keep adding up. Okay. So, but it doesn't matter if that foundation is rocky and you don't have that, because the skill set's never really going to get there, because you're going to think the next tool and tactic is all you need. And guess what? You're like, that doesn't work. But yet they had a gut feeling about you that something was off, because you don't know how you're coming across. You don't know that you're acting without confidence. You don't know that they're showing like you're all over them trying to perform rather than connect. Two different things, and it will show up in your conversations and how people perceive you and whether they trust you. All these things that influence people and have relationships is going to show up if you do not work on physiology. You don't work on how your energy is going, where it's going to, etc. But focus on am I trying to connect, or am I trying to perform? And I've talked about this several times. I talk about this all the time. I've talked about it here. I've talked about it in Genius Loan Officer. The pendulum swing, you're either shrinking or it maybe swings the other way, and you're posturing, and in the middle is confidence and composure. And where that comes from is recentering yourself and knowing where you're at all times, whether you're even having a conflict. If somebody is coming at you and kind of being strong with you, or, a borrower is like, getting upset, or realtor's getting upset, think about that pendulum swing, where it's at. It's natural, and you're human if it gets knocked over just a slight bit for a second, and then you got to go, ooh, confidence and composure. How would a confident and composure person act? How would I, my best self, being confident and composed, act in this situation? How will I connect in this situation rather than perform? So just imagine a time, where you showed up and you tried to perform. Imagine maybe the last event that you tried to host, and you were trying to do a class for real estate agents. and you got up there and beforehand, you're just like, oh my gosh, you're breathing a little heavier and you're nervous and all this. Was that connection mode or performance? Was your energy at full scale nervous performance level? Or did you recenter and refocus your attention and break it to be the energy is going to help me? This is great. I'm excited to do it. And I'm going to move towards connection rather than performance. Okay. Very key. So, and what I'll say as well. So, I will say, you can't put so much pressure on yourself. Even if you're saying you're showing up with somebody and you're like, I'm going to try to see if I can help them. And a lot of times we go in that performance mode because it's like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to help them? How am I going to perform? How am I going to do this? So I was at Top Golf probably about 2 months ago. And me being a golf ball of whacker guy, that's another movie reference. Happy Gilmore. Love that movie, one of my favorite movies. And the golf ball of whacker guy. Well, I am horrible in golf. So anybody that's listening to this podcast could probably beat me in golf. I am horrendous at it, right? So I just have this slice that just goes crazy. So we're out there, got the family, got my wife, kids, and her parents are there. I'm ball of whacking. And then my stepdaughter, which is 9 years old, gets up there and she tries to hit the ball. And she like swings and misses a few times and kind of dribbles the ball over. And then my stepson is 13. So he goes over there and he's like, oh, hey, let me show you how to hit the ball. He's telling her. And my first reaction was, and I went over, I was like, dude, you're not even that good yourself. Like, why are you showing her how to golf? And he's like, I don't hit the ball. And then I stepped out of the way. And all of a sudden I was like, Adam, you are crazy incorrect right now. You should have never said that. Not because I was hurting his feelings, which, may have, but I was going against everything that I teach all the time. And I went back over and I correct myself. I said, go ahead and show her how to do it. You're right. She can use your help. So he did. And she went and she hit a couple balls. Okay. Not great, but she was doing better. So the point is that I was going, wow, Adam, you teach all the time. The fact is, you just have to be a couple steps ahead of someone to help someone. It doesn't mean that like he had to be Tiger Woods out there helping his 9-year-old sister. The very fact is he was 3 or 4 steps ahead of her, and he could help her at least hit the ball. She's not trying to get the PGA Tour. Okay. And so he can help her, and he did help her. And I realized I was wrong because that was not the correct conversation I should have had, because he can help her. And so that is the things I teach all the time. And I hit me between the eyes, like, whoa, I got some bad messaging going on even with myself, right? Because I still got some messaging going on there because, for my past or my father and everything else. And just, when you try to like do something, it was like not good enough. And man, unless you're a master at it, you can't teach it or can't do anything else. So the point is like, when you're going to help someone, stop going in such performance mode and thinking, man, I've got to be the best lender ever. When I go to this event, I've got to, like, if I'm teaching something on lead generation or whatever, I've got to be the best person, ever. And these real estate agents, like, I've got to impress them so much. The very fact is, if you get up there and you know your material and you speak on it and it's helped you, And if you connect, you truly trying to connect and help people and the focus is on them, you're going to be able to help some people in that group. It doesn't matter what a couple people think. I know I can do it better. They're probably the couple that doesn't matter who was in front of them. Somebody making 20 times, 30 times as much as they've ever thought about making. They know more than they do. There's going to be those people in the group. You don't need them. But are you connection mode or performance mode? So think about those times where you've shown up and that you've been in performance mode. Are you in performance mode as soon as you're making a call? So that's what we need to think about. When we are calling someone, know that they are running a script in their head. Everybody has scripts. It's very ingrained in all of us. We all have scripts. Hacking someone's script is a huge influential piece. Hacking someone's scripts. What script are they running? So when you're calling an agent, they already have a script in their head. Once you call them, say you're cold calling someone, they already have a script. They've heard this before. The moment that you're saying something like everybody else is, they're running that script. Kind of like when you walk into a car dealership and some guy, you know, I'm going to pick on car salesmen. I'm not saying all car salesmen like this, but there's a lot of them, and hopefully if you're a car salesman, you're the exception, right? Anyway, I'm just going to paint a picture for you. You got the slick back hair and they're like, hey buddy, what's going on? You know, welcome in, you know, and you could just see like they're in performance mode, right? Like they're like, I mean, you know, they almost got their hands in your pocket, right? Like you're like, whoa, brother, you know, step off, you know, right? Brother, I gotta Hulk Hogan them, push them back. Brother, step back. So, you know, they have this. And so you have a script, right? You're always like, hey, I'm just looking, whoa, just looking. I already know how this is going to go down. You have that script of what they're gonna say next, all this other stuff, right? We have these scripts, and people have a script in their head. When you call them, a realtor has a script because they've heard the script 100 times, and now they have their own script, and now they can almost finish your sentence if you're being like everybody else. So you have to break the script. Script hacking is a key influential piece. When I say hacking, that means hacking and interrupting the bad ones and novelty equals focus, which is your number one currency. Novelty equals focus. You have to have novelty there. It has to generate focus. We do not have an attention deficit today. We have an interest deficit today, and we have all these people have all these scripts. So you have to break it, but you have to, and then if you can actually interlace into the good scripts you have, if somebody has, guess what? You're going to influence again. So take, for example, you know, I said, you know, you remember when you were a child and you went outside and the sun was shining and just, you felt really good. It was, you just got out of school, the last day of school, and you ran out and just life felt good. The sun was beaming down in May, and all the possibilities of your summer was upon you. Did you go back to a time in your life? Did you think about, maybe it was 9 years old, maybe it was 10 years old, maybe it's 14 years old. It's time in your life where you're running a script, right? You're running back. I'm conjuring up a good script, right? So you have the script, and then now all of a sudden it's taking you along. So there's good and there's the negative ones. The negative ones are, I've heard this before, right? So once we hit that and somebody thinks they've heard this before, they tune out. Hopefully at this point, you don't think you've heard this before, and novelty equals focus, and you're like, oh, what is this guy going to say next? He is crazy. I'm just going to stay tuned just because he's going to do another movie reference. I don't know. But you have to help hack scripts. So the biggest thing, again, you may have an issue with, and you know, there's all these companies, right? All these lead systems, all these like different people calling you, running the script on you, and you know the script because you're like, oh, whatever. Here's another lead person saying, I can get you 1,000 leads. I can do this. And if it's 42 cents, and you're like, oh, whatever, heard that before, and they're all 412 credit scores. You got that script, right? So the thing is there's so many people out there in the mortgage industry, around the mortgage industry, selling you a whole bunch of things to try to get around having real conversations, right? To get around the subject we're talking about right now, which is when you call someone, not knowing what the heck to say and being in performance mode, saying, oh my gosh, I got to call and beg for realtors. Well, if you are calling, begging for people, you're in performance mode. The people that are saying that don't know what they're talking about on influence. They've never mastered influence. They've never mastered themselves. And they are trying to run a script on you, suck out every bit of money, blood you got, sweat and tears from your business to sell you a bit of goods because you don't know how to have conversations and you're in performance mode and you're not connection mode. So, when we are calling someone, we should not be saying, hey, this is what we do really well, all this stuff. It should be in connection mode fully. And so, this is not as deep a dive as we go, but to give you a little bit of clarity on the conversation, it should be boom, straight to the point. I'm calling cuz and going down that path and then letting them answer. But when you're having the conversation, you're leading them down the road, you're asking them really good questions about themselves. You're getting discovery mode. You're getting connection mode. You're trying to move the axis of influence and all this stuff, these keys of influence to move them and see what is going on with their lives. You're trying to get them into projection. There's 3 projections of speech. There's inferior, equal, and superior. You're trying to get them into superior speech where they're talking about their expertise, how they perform, what they do, and all this. You don't want to get your projection of speech and of superior going, hey, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this really well, and everything else. Because even if we talk about communication, like a lot, I hear this out there. Well, you don't, call people and tell them how great a communicator you are. Yeah, if you're doing that, that's incorrect. However, that could be the key to you actually getting a lot more deals from agents. However, if you call and say, I'm a great communicator, how does that land? How is that different? How is that hacking a script? It's not. They've heard that script and everybody says that script. However, if you're asking them the correct questions and you're going down the path of what's going on in the world, how they're performing, where they're showing up, what their needs are, all these things, and you're going down these paths, then you can get to that. And it may be at the end just communication, and then you're clarifying. The biggest mistake too people make is as soon as somebody says one thing that they like or what they need from a lender, and we'll stay down the path of communication, because that's a huge one. That's one of the ones that's right out there. It's all the time. The reason it's used so much is because we know the communication sucks, right? With lenders a lot of times, and real estate agents, a lot of them suck on communication as well. And they want you to be a good communicator, right? We all know that. But the thing is they have that script. They know, they go, okay, well, communication. And then as soon as they give us that thread, like, hey, yeah, communication's the key. What do we do next? We go back in performance mode. Oh my gosh, Mary, you wouldn't believe our communication is the best. We call, we text, we do this. Well, you just puked all over them. They run this script and they're sitting there going, oh, God. I thought and you may have started off with a good conversation and all of a sudden, boom. Oh, okay. You had a chance to connect. You tried to perform. So how do we backtrack here and get to the right connection? When when they say communication, we're going to clarify. Well, Mary, I certainly understand that. What does good communication look like to you? By the way, we have influence sheets, so you can look at what visual, auditory, kinesthetic, what are you using back to them, but say they're visual. Now, Mary, that, I can understand that. That's how does communication look like? Good communication look to you? Well, it looks like the fact you just have to call. I want the calls, updates. I want this. You're probably going to clarify again. You're waiting so long to jump. You don't jump. You're just sitting back, collecting, asking, getting into real connection mode, and you're clarifying what that is. Because let's say I like to text, right? You could have missed. So that's what we want to get into, is just, and I know this is kind of, some of that is not like getting so granular, but some of that is really, I want that to be intentional on this podcast, because I do want you to start thinking, and I just want to trigger a different script on you going, okay, that's not correct. How do I self-correct? How do I not perform? How do I connect? How do I do these things? And start getting that ball bounced around the head going, okay, how would I look? What could I do differently? And so when we are connecting, when we're running the right scripts, when we're having real conversations, we're going to win a lot more. And so this is the biggest thing. And so even after, we had questions in our groups, like, one guy was like, well, after they're telling us, or they're saying, yeah, I'll show up the meeting, and then they're not showing, or they're ghosting or whatever. Maybe I should go into the value. And no, that's when, after if somebody, even you call up pretty early on, you get employment for 11 o'clock on Thursday, for example, then you need to follow up and not in there. Most loan officers will just go, okay, great, I'll see you Monday or Thursday at 11. Say it's Monday, you called them. Well, you got 3 days. But what you can do immediately right then is you can ask them, Mary, that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing you 11 o'clock on Thursday. Before you go, real quick, I just want to make sure I'm prepared, for this meeting, and I, answer all your questions. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions to make sure I'm prepared for this meeting? And then you're going to ask good questions, or you're going to get down to some stuff, because you may not got in any kind of value at all. However, you now can extend that conversation and add and figure out what the value is. You're not going to tell them. You're not going to say, I'm great in communication. No, great. Yeah, you're going to love it, man. We're going to meet. No, I got great communication. No. And you're not going to end the call either. You're going to ask for a few more minutes. You're going to get a few more questions. You're going to shore up that conversation and connection way more. I've done this several times where I've actually got referrals before the Thursday appointment. It'd be on a Monday and a Thursday, whatever day it was, not long between them, a week between them, the scheduled, the call and the scheduled meeting has got them, because I extended the conversation just a little bit further, and then I was able to get into some deeper connection there, and the show up rate way up. They're showing up because now they know also I'm prepared. They have those good, again, they're connected with you. They feel good about the conversation. They don't feel like they just made an appointment just to get you off their back. So you're not going to let them off the hook, right? You're going to have a deeper connection. No, come back here. We're going to connect a little bit. We're going to have a deeper conversation. So that's where you want to extend that conversation just a little bit more. The really good sales, the top sales professionals know how to extend the conversation just a little bit more. Just ask a little bit deeper questions. Just get a little bit more clarifying questions. Get down deeper, and then start to influence the 6 different keys that we talk about in Genius Loan Officer. Everybody's got their triggers. Everybody's got their scripts. So remember, to recap, make sure that maybe this week that you write down 5 people, 5 conversations, and write performance and connection mode, and then write the things that you did maybe that were, that you maybe went into performance maybe a little too much, or you act a little more like a performance on that conversation, and think about all the things you did on connection. And then at the end of the week, just look at those 5 again and go, okay, is there anything I could have done more in connection? And maybe write you a pendulum swing there above the top, put it up there and put and see whether you're in the middle where you were. So after you get off the call, maybe you can go, okay, well, I felt like felt pressure, so I'm gonna put that under performance. I felt like I was, really trying to, tell them more than I was to ask them questions. That's more performance. Oh, I got in connection here because we had deeper rooted conversations. I really learned more about them. They were able to projection of speech was, there was superior. They were able to tell me their expertise and all this stuff. That was connection. Hey, I think that overall, I think that, I was a little on, the pendulum swing. I was a little on the posturing, just a little bit on that one. So you can kind of write yourself a couple charts there and do that. And then think about, and then look at the ones that out of the 5, or maybe do 10, and look at the ones that you felt the best about the connection, and then think about those conversations, how they went, and maybe how you connected rather than performed, and what was your composure like and confidence like on those calls. How was your physiology? Maybe you think, okay, man, my physiology wasn't where it needed to be there. Maybe I didn't, prepare enough to be in a good physiological state. Maybe I just got done doing something that was, was in a hard, tough file, and then I tried to come right out of it and make a call, and just the energy wasn't right. So just start to self-monitor these things, and you'll start to get more awareness of yourself and how you are connecting with people, rather than just trying to be some kind of crazy performer. Okay, so that's what I got today. Remember, novelty equals focus. It is your number one currency. Remember the pendulum swing. Remember, performance is not the key. It is connection. And hope you win a lot of deals this week and a lot of relationships. And just go out there and crush it. I mean, I'm super proud of a lot of you out there I don't even know, I haven't even connected with, that I've connected with personally and heard you, but I know there's so many people who are connecting with me on this podcast. I had people reach out to me. It's like, man, I really feel connected to you. We've got some members, and a lot of members in Genius Loan Officer that are podcasts. They came through the podcast, they feel connected, they feel good. And I love that. I'm helping people out there. So, I'm only helping you if we're connecting, you're feeling the energy, what it needs to be, you're taking what I'm saying, and you're actually really taking action. So I'm super, super proud of you, even if I don't know you, and you're taking action out there, and you're just making more connections, and you're having a better time, and more just having more fun. So I love you. Go out there and absolutely crush it. Limited risk equals limited income.